Welcome, I'm Josh with Bass Buzz. Have you ever been watching a beginner blues bass lesson and you suddenly get hit by like 5 music theory concepts all at once? The truth is that theory is important, but you don't have to learn it all on day one. With my stupidly simple approach to the blues, I've cut out all the stuff you don't need to know right now, so you'll be playing a basic 12-bar blues and able to survive blues jams in any key by the end of the video. I'm going to have you actually playing the blues with me in a minute, even if you just started playing bass. We're going to do basic play-alongs to Killing Floor by Howlin' Wolf and Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm going to show you 2 easy shapes that'll help you get around a blues in any key without getting lost, and I'll also explain how the 12-bar blues works, which you need to know no matter what style of blues you're into. But first, let's dig straight in with the blues survival shapes. So the blues jam is later today. You have to pack up your gear in an hour. Here's the bare minimum you need to survive. If somebody calls out a blues in E, what do? No, don't scream and panic. You only need 3 notes to get through the blues, and you can use simple shapes to find them. A shape is just a visual pattern on the neck that gives you a shortcut to knowing what to play in certain situations. So I'm going to show you 2 blues survival shapes that'll help you find the notes you need, a high shape and a low shape. And these are super useful because if a guitarist shouts a key out at you, all you have to do is find a starting note and then use the shape and you're good to go. So if somebody calls out a blues in E, the first thing we need to do is find an E. If you don't know how to find the notes on your neck, you can check out my fretboard money notes video to get started. So we'll use an E on the 7th fret of the A string. That'll be our 1, which is the starting point for the 12-bar blues. Starting with the high survival shape. So from our 1, we go up a string, same fret, to our second note, which is called the 4, and then our 3rd and final note up 2 frets from there is called the 5. So our 3 notes are called 1, 4, and 5, and I'll explain why they're called 1, 4, 5 later. For now, just roll with it. Let's see how you'd use that shape in another key real quick. How about a blues in G? So what do we do first? We got to find a G. We'll use the 3rd fret of the E string. And now I want to find my 4. How do I do that? Same shape, so I go up a string, same fret. That gives me my 4. And then if I go up 2 frets from there, I get my 5. So it's the same shape, different key because we started on a different note. We'll review the high shape again later. For now, let's move on to the low shape. So how about somebody calls out a blues in C? What do we do first? We got to find a C. Let's use the 3rd fret of the A string. Now we're going to go down below our starting note to find the 4 and the 5. So our 4 will be down a string, down 2 frets. So in this case, that'd be the 1st fret of the E string. And then our 5 will be up 2 frets from there, which would be the 3rd fret of the E string. You can also think of the 5 in the low shape as just being down a string, same fret from the 1. 1, 5, 4, 5, 1. Okay, real quick, let's try that low shape in another key. What if somebody calls out a blues in F sharp? Oh, it might sound scary with that sharp in the name, right? But it's actually just as easy as any other key because we're using the same shape. So just find an F sharp. We'll use the 4th fret of the D string for this example. And then if I use my low shape, where do I find my 4? Go down a string, down 2 frets. And then my 5 is up 2 frets from there, or just down a string from the 1. Either way you want to think about it. And those are the notes I would need for blues in F sharp. So in this beginner lesson, we'll stick completely to the shaped notes, but later you'll be able to use these simple shapes to create more complex bass lines. Let me show you how I might do that with a blues in E. So I'll find my E on the 7th fret of the A string again, and then I go up a string, same fret to find my 4, and up 2 frets from there to find my 5. Those will be the foundational notes of what I play, and I'll explain how I know when to change notes and stuff in a couple minutes. So if I just stuck to the shape, I just start on the 1. I can just plug away with quarter notes or play a different rhythm, and then when it's time to go to the 4, I just use my shape to know that I need to go up a string. Then it's time to go back to the 1. Now when I go to the 5, I just go up a string and up 2 frets to the 4, back to the 1. And that's a way that I could survive a 12-bar blues just by knowing that one little shape. But if I want to play something more interesting, I can use that shape as a starting point. So I still use that 1, and then when I go to the 4, it's in the same place, back to 1, up to the 5, same spot, 4's in the same place. I'm just adding stuff around the shape. Playing the blues is awesome, but if you don't want to actually get the blues, you should really click subscribe and then click the bell so that you don't miss out when new lessons come out. Now onto a quick rundown of what makes these shapes work. So why do these shapes work, and why are we calling these notes 1, 4, and 5? You can skip this section for now and just use the shapes, but if you want to understand the theory, which I really recommend, here's the quick version. The 1 is just the key that we're in, so if we're playing a blues in D, our 1 is going to be a D. I'll use the 5th fret on the A string to demo here. So the names 4 and 5 come from the major scale based off of the 1. So if we're in the key of D, and I know my D major scale, which you may not know, that's fine, you can still use these shapes. But if I walk up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 4th note, that's a G, which, hey, what do you know? It's on the same fret up a string from the 1, and that's the same note as the 4 in our survival shape. And then if I keep going up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I end up a string and up 2 frets, well, that's the 5 from our survival shape, which is not a coincidence at all. That's where these notes come from. So I'm just playing the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes of the D major scale, or whatever key I'm in. So that's how the high survival shape works, but what about the low shape? Because I've got my scale box up here, but then with the low shape I go down here to get my 4 and my 5. That doesn't look like it fits in the scale, right? But check this out. So if I'm playing a D major scale, my first note is D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, my 4th note is G, and my 5th note is A. So what I do for the low survival shape is I just find a G and an A down below the D I started on instead of above. So I get a G down here on the 3rd fret of the E string, and an A down here on the 5th fret of the E string, and then I go up to my D on the 5th fret of the A string. So they're the same notes, they're just down, and in music theory lingo we call that down an octave. If any of that's confusing, I explain the theory behind scales and chords and keys and chord progressions in mega detail in my Beginner to Badass course over at bassbuzz.com. So these shapes tell you where to find the notes you need, but how do you know when to play them and how to change from one to the other? That's why you need to learn the 12-bar blues form. The 12-bar blues is the most common blues form. You can hear it in popular songs like The Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King, Hound Dog by Elvis, Red House by Jimi Hendrix, and many more. It's a simple set of 12 bars that repeats over and over through a song, and those bars are grouped into 3 chunks of 4 bars each. So let's see that in action with Jump, Jive, and Wail by Louis Prima, as performed by Brian Setzer. This quarter note moves pretty fast, so we'll get through the form quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the beginning of the form. 3rd bar, 4th bar, here's the second group of 4. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, last group of 4. So that's the end of the verse, and now we repeat the same form with the chorus lyrics. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, second group. 2, 3, 4, last group of 4. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now we go to the solo over the same form. So 3 groups of 4 bars over and over. With me so far? Here's the trickier part. Those 12 bars contain a chord progression. And here's why that matters. This is what Jump, Jive, and Wail would sound like if there was no chord progression. Sounds good so far. Isn't something supposed to happen there? Maybe here, maybe here. Wait a second. What's happening? Why? Oh my god. Why? Why is this still happening? A chord progression gives us some destinations to travel to. So we're jump jiving, and you wail, you gotta jump jiving, and you wail, you gotta jump jiving. Hey, we went somewhere, and you wail, you gotta jump jiving, and you wail, you gotta another place, jump jiving, and you wail away. So it sounds a lot better that way, right? That's because the song actually takes us somewhere instead of just sitting around stupidly on the same note forever, ever, 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 ever. You need to know the 12-bar blues progression by heart because that's what tells you when to play your 1, 4, and 5 from your survival shapes. So here's where the 1, 4, and 5 go in the 12-bar progression. There are some slight variations on this form from song to song, but this is a good starting point. So in our first group of 4 bars, we just stay on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. And the second group of 4, we go to the 4 for 2 bars, and then we go back to the 1 for 2 bars. And then in our final group of 4 bars, which is called the turnaround, we go 5, 4, 1, and then we can either stay on 1 or we can go to the 5 for the last bar. That's a really common variation on the form. So let's check that out on Good Golly Miss Molly. Same 12-bar form, same chord progression, different song. 1, 2, 3. So 4 bars of 1, then we go to the 4, and back to the 1, and then we go to the 5, 4, 1, and stay on the 1. And that's the form. That's all the conceptual stuff you need for now. It might feel like a lot, but you really need to know this stuff if you want to be able to play a blues. So let's make sure it all sticks. We'll do some basic play-alongs to a couple popular blues tunes while we review our 12-bar form and our survival shapes. First up is Killing Floor by Howlin' Wolf, which inspired the Lemon Song by Led Zeppelin. It's a 12-bar blues in A, so what do we do first? We got to find an A. Let's use the 5th fret of the E string. Now, should we use the high survival shape or the low survival shape? It's got to be the high shape, right? There's no string to go down to, so we can't use the low one. So I've got my A, which is my 1, that's our starting point. Now how do I find my 4? I just go up a string, same fret, which will be a D on the 5th fret of the A string. And then where's the 5? 7th fret of the A string, which is up 2 frets from the 4, or up a string and up 2 frets from the 1, and that's going to be an E. So A, D, and E are our 1, 4, and 5 for this tune. So this song has a really cool bass line that follows the guitar part. But we're just going to stick to quarter notes on the root so that you can really see how this shape fits through the 12-bar progression. Okay, and I'll call out the chords to you and stuff as we go, and you got them on screen too. Here we go. 1, 2, here we go. So just chilling on the root, playing quarter notes. The root is the 1. Now here comes the 4. 3, 4, change to the 4. Then we'll go back to the 1. We're in our second group of 4 bars. Here comes the last group of 4 bars, where we go to the 5. To the 4, 4, back to the 1. Now we're going to go up to the 5. This is that variation I talked to you about. Nice work. If you want to work on that more, you can just check out the full original song and you can just play that form over and over through the song. We're going to finish up with Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan, which is one of my favorite blues tunes, and it's a blues in E flat. So what do we do first? Find an E flat. You got it. Okay, let's use an E flat on the 6th fret of the A string. And let's test out our low survival shape. So where do we find our 4? We go down a string and down 2 frets from the 1. So that'll give us an A flat on the 4th fret of the E string. And then where's our 5? It's up 2 frets from there, which is a B flat on the 6th fret of the E string. So those are our 3 notes. E flat is the 1, A flat is the 4, B flat is the 5, and that's all we need. Again, the recorded bass line on this track does a bunch of cool walking stuff, but we're just going to stick to the roots so that you can really understand how the 1, 4, and 5 fit into the blues. Okay, 4 clicks and then we're in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes the 4, 3, 4, 4. Back to the 1. To the 5. 4. To the 1. And then back to the 5. Sweet! Now you know the basics of beginner blues bass, you understand the 12-bar form, and you have 2 survival shapes you can use to find your 1, 4, and 5 in any key. So if somebody shouts out a blues in E, all you have to do is find an E and then use one of your survival shapes, the high one or the low one. And if you're a total beginner, you can just stick to those notes, and if you're more advanced and you know some good blues bass patterns, you can plug them right into your 1, 4, and 5. Please click like if you liked this video, and subscribe for more foolproof bass lessons. I love the blues. I've been listening to the blues ever since I was a little kid, hearing my dad play bass in blues bands, so it's really fun to get to do this with you. And I'd love to know what blues bass player or blues artist inspired you to start playing the blues. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you later.